I went to my father's house unannounced. The summer evening air was thick with the scent of blooming jasmine, a stark contrast to the turmoil in my heart. It had been almost a year since my mother passed away, and something inside me pushed to visit the old man. Maybe it was guilt for not checking in sooner, or perhaps a lingering hope to reconnect. Either way, I stood at the familiar front door, an ancient key in hand. I hesitated, taking a deep breath before sliding the key into the lock. The door creaked open with a soft groan, reminiscent of my childhood days. I stepped inside, the familiar scent of aged wood and my mother's lingering perfume mixing with the present. Nostalgia hit me like a wave, but it was quickly replaced by an unsettling feeling as I heard muffled sounds coming from upstairs. My heart pounded as I climbed the stairs, each step louder in my ears than the last. The noises grew clearer, unmistakable now, gasps, moans, and whispered words of passion. I reached the top of the stairs, dread pooling in my stomach. Slowly, I pushed open the door to my father's bedroom, praying my suspicions were wrong. The sight before me froze my blood. My wife, Sarah, was riding my father, both of them half-naked and lost in the throes of passion. I felt like I was drowning, every happy memory with her shattering in an instant. Anger and betrayal clawed at my chest, making it hard to breathe. "Sarah!" My voice came out in a strangled shout, breaking the spell of their sordid embrace. They jumped apart, shock and guilt plastered across their faces. Sarah scrambled to cover herself, her eyes wide with panic. My father, always the composed patriarch, looked like a deer caught in headlights. "Mike, I can explain," Sarah stammered, but her words felt hollow, meaningless. "Explain?" I spat, the bitterness in my voice palpable. "Explain how you could do this? My mother has only been gone a year, and you're with her." I pointed at my father, my hand trembling with rage. Dad stood up, trying to regain some semblance of authority. "Son, it's not what it looks like." "Not what it looks like?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "It looks exactly like what it is. You're sleeping with my wife." The room fell silent, the weight of betrayal hanging heavy in the air. I could feel the walls closing in, suffocating me. I needed to get out, to think, to plan. Revenge burned in my veins, a fire that wouldn't be easily extinguished. Without another word, I turned on my heel and stormed out, slamming the door behind me. The cool night air hit me like a slap, bringing a brief clarity. I had to get back at them, make them feel the pain I was feeling. The beginnings of a plan started to form in my mind as I drove away, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Over the next few days, I started to piece together my revenge. I watched them from a distance, noting their routines, their habits. My father, ever the businessman, still went to his office every day, and Sarah, unsuspecting, carried on as if nothing had happened. The audacity of their betrayal fueled my determination. I began by planting seeds of doubt in their minds. Anonymously, I sent my father a letter suggesting that his business partner was stealing from him. At the same time, I made Sarah believe that someone was watching her every move, leaving cryptic notes and following her discreetly. The cracks in their composure started to show, their guilt amplifying their paranoia. One evening, I saw Sarah break down, her nerves frayed to the breaking point. She confided in my father, her voice trembling. "I think someone's onto us." "What if they know?" Dad, trying to maintain control, reassured her, but I could see the fear in his eyes too. My plan was working. They were unraveling, their perfect little world crumbling from the inside. As the days passed, I escalated my efforts. I hacked into my father's business accounts, making it look like his partner was embezzling funds. The accusations flew, and the trust between them shattered. My father's empire, built on decades of hard work, began to fall apart. Meanwhile, Sarah's paranoia grew. She started to see shadows everywhere, hear footsteps that weren't there. I ensured she felt the weight of her betrayal every waking moment. Her once confident demeanor turned to one of constant fear and anxiety. The final piece of my plan was to confront them again, to see their broken faces when they realized it was me all along. I waited until the night was darkest, slipping back into my father's house. This time, there were no loving memories, only a cold determination. I found them in the living room, huddled together, trying to figure out who was behind their torment. The sight was almost pitiable. Almost. "Surprised to see me?" I said, stepping into the light. Their heads snapped up, eyes wide with disbelief and horror. "Mike," Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible. "Why?" my father asked, his voice breaking. "Why would you do this?" "Why?" I repeated, my voice dripping with venom. "Because you betrayed me. Both of you. You tore apart everything I believed in, everything I held dear. Now, you're going to feel what that's like." I walked away, leaving them to their misery. Their lives were in ruins, and I was the one holding the pieces. As I drove away into the night, a sense of grim satisfaction settled over me. They had broken my heart, but I had broken their lives. And in the end, that felt like justice. As the sun rises over the city, casting a golden hue on the buildings, I find myself sitting in a small cafe, nursing a cup of bitter coffee. My mind races with the event of the past few weeks. The satisfaction of my revenge against Sarah and my father lingers, but it's tainted by a gnawing emptiness. Was it enough? Did they really understand the depth of their betrayal? The door chimes as it opens, and a familiar face steps inside. It's Sam, my childhood friend and confidant. We've been through thick and thin together, and if there's anyone who can help me navigate this twisted mess, it's him. He spots me and makes his way over, a concerned look on his face. "Mike," Sam says, sliding into the seat across from me. "You look like hell. What's going on?" I take a deep breath, my fingers drumming on the table. "Sam, you won't believe what I've been through." I recount the sordid details of Sarah and my father's affair, the betrayal, and my revenge. His eyes widen with each passing sentence. "Jesus, Mike," he mutters, running a hand through his hair. "That's insane. But you did what you had to do." "Did I?" I question, my voice heavy with doubt. It feels hollow. Like I've only scratched the surface. Sam leans in, his expression serious. "Then we need to dig deeper. If they're capable of something like this, who knows what else they're hiding?" His words resonate with me. Maybe he's right. Maybe there's more to uncover, more to expose. I nod, a renewed determination settling in. "All right. Let's dig." Our first stop is my father's office. Sam and I slip into the building under the guise of potential clients, using the chaos of my father's crumbling business to our advantage. The receptionist barely glances at us as we make our way to his private office. Inside, we start rummaging through his files, searching for anything that might reveal more about his shady dealings. Sam finds a hidden drawer in the desk, filled with documents marked confidential. We scan through them, our eyes widening as we uncover evidence of bribery, tax evasion, and worse. "Looks like your old man has been up to no good for a long time," Sam whispers, his tone grim. As we gather the incriminating evidence, the door suddenly swings open. My father's business partner, Gerald, stands there, his eyes narrowing at the sight of us. "What the hell are you doing in here?" he demands. Thinking quickly, I step forward, trying to sound confident. "We were just looking for some documents. My father asked us to retrieve them." Gerald's suspicion doesn't waver. "Bullshit. You're here snooping. Get out before I call security." We don't need to be told twice. Grabbing what we can, we make a hasty exit, leaving Gerald fuming in our wake. Once we're outside, Sam turns to me, his expression a mix of excitement and concern. "We've got enough here to bury him, Mike. But we need to be careful. He's not going to go down without a fight." I nod, my mind racing with the possibilities. We need more allies, more people who can help us bring my father to justice. And I know just the person to start with, Emily, my mother's best friend and a former employee of my father. If anyone knows his secrets, it's her. Later that evening, Sam and I arrive at Emily's modest home. She greets us with a warm smile, but it quickly fades when she sees the seriousness on our faces. "What's going on, Mike?" she asks, inviting us inside. I waste no time explaining everything: the affair, the revenge, the discovery of my father's crimes. Emily listens intently, her expression hardening with each revelation. "I always knew he was a bastard," she says finally, her voice trembling with anger. "But this is unforgivable. Will you help us?" I ask, desperation creeping into my voice. "We need to take him down, for good." Emily nods, determination flashing in her eyes. "I'm in. I know where he keeps his most sensitive documents. We can get what we need to ensure he never hurts anyone again." Over the next few days, we plan our next move. Emily provides us with key information about my father's secret safe, hidden in his mansion. It's where he keeps the most damaging evidence, the skeletons in his closet that could ruin him forever. On the night of our planned break-in, nerves are high. Sam, Emily, and I gather outside the mansion, the darkness providing cover for our illicit activities. Emily had managed to procure the alarm codes, ensuring we could enter undetected. We slip inside, the house eerily quiet. Memories flood back as I navigate the familiar hallways, but I push them aside, focusing on the task at hand. We reach the study, where the safe is concealed behind a large painting. Emily quickly inputs the code, and the safe door swings open with a soft click. Inside, we find a treasure trove of incriminating documents. Bank statements, offshore accounts, blackmail material, enough to destroy my father's reputation and send him to prison for a long time. As we gather the evidence, the sound of footsteps echoes down the hallway. "Someone's coming," Sam hisses, his eyes wide with fear. We hide, hearts pounding, as the footsteps grow closer. The door creaks open, and my father steps inside, a look of suspicion on his face. He approaches the safe, oblivious to our presence. Just as he reaches for the door, I spring forward, grabbing his arm. "Mike," he gasps, shock and anger flashing across his face. "Hello, Dad," I say, my voice cold. "It's over. We have everything we need to take you down." His eyes dart around, realizing he's cornered. "You have no idea what you're doing," he snarls. "You're making a big mistake." "The only mistake was trusting you," I retort, tightening my grip on his arm. "And now, you're going to pay for everything you've done." With the evidence in hand, we leave my father standing there, his world crashing down around him. As we drive away, a sense of finality settles over me. The road ahead is uncertain, and the fight isn't over yet, but for the first time, I feel a glimmer of hope. We've taken the first step in bringing him to justice. And no matter what comes next, I know we'll see it through to the end. The drive back from my father's mansion is tense, filled with a heavy silence. Sam sits beside me, clutching the briefcase full of incriminating documents, while Emily rides in the back, her eyes fixed on the road ahead. We all know the gravity of what we've done, and the potential fallout that awaits us. We pull into the driveway of my modest home, a far cry from the opulence of my father's estate. Once inside, we gather around the kitchen table, spreading out the contents of the briefcase. Bank statements, offshore account details, blackmail material, it's all there, a testament to my father's corruption. "There's enough here to take him down," Sam says, his voice low but determined. "But we need to be smart about this. We can't just hand it over to the authorities. We need a plan." Emily nods, her expression resolute. "We need to find someone we can trust, someone who won't be swayed by your father's influence. And we need to make sure this information gets to the right people." I lean back in my chair, rubbing my temples. "I know a guy," I say finally. "A journalist. His name's Ethan. We went to college together, and he's one of the few people I trust completely. If anyone can help us expose my father, it's him." Sam and Emily exchange glances, then nod in agreement. "All right," Sam says. "Let's get in touch with him." I pull out my phone and dial Ethan's number, my heart pounding with anticipation. After a few rings, he answers, his voice warm and familiar. "Mike? Long time no see, man. What's up?" "Ethan, I need your help," I say, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's a long story, but I have some information that could bring down my father. I need you to meet me, tonight." There's a brief pause, then Ethan's tone turns serious. "All right, Mike. Where do you want to meet?" We agree on a secluded diner on the outskirts of town, a place we used to frequent during our college days. I hang up the phone and look at Sam and Emily, my resolve hardening. "Let's go." We arrive at the diner an hour later. The neon sign flickers, casting an eerie glow over the parking lot. Inside, the familiar scent of greasy food and stale coffee greets us. Ethan sits in a corner booth, his laptop open in front of him. He looks up as we approach, a mixture of curiosity and concern in his eyes. "Mike," he says, standing to greet me. "What's going on? You sounded pretty urgent on the phone." I waste no time, launching into the story of my father's betrayal, the affair with Sarah, and the discovery of his criminal activities. Ethan listens intently, his expression growing grimmer by the minute. When I finish, he leans back, exhaling sharply. "Jesus, Mike. This is huge. If what you're saying is true, this could be the story of the decade. But we need proof." I nod, sliding the briefcase across the table. "It's all in here. Bank statements, offshore accounts, blackmail material. Everything you need to take him down." Ethan opens the briefcase, his eyes widening as he examines the documents. This is incredible," he murmurs. "But we need more. We need witnesses, people who can corroborate this." Emily steps forward, her voice steady. "I worked for him for years. I know where he hides his skeletons. And I know others who do too. We can get you the witnesses you need." Ethan nods, his determination matching ours. "All right. We need to move fast. If your father gets wind of this, he'll do everything in his power to shut us down. I'll start working on the story, but we need to be careful. We can't let him know what we're up to." Over the next few days, we work tirelessly, gathering more evidence and securing witness testimonies. Emily reaches out to former employees, convincing them to come forward. Sam uses his tech skills to dig deeper into my father's finances, uncovering more damning evidence. Meanwhile, Ethan pieces together the story, crafting an exposé that will leave no room for doubt. One evening, as we're finalizing the details, my phone rings. It's Sarah. My stomach churns at the sight of her name on the screen, but I answer, my voice cold. "Mike," she says, her voice trembling. "We need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about," I reply, my anger simmering just below the surface. "Please, Mike. It's important." I didn't know who else to turn to. Her desperation gives me pause. Against my better judgment, I agree to meet her at a nearby park. I inform Sam and Emily, who insist on coming with me for backup. We arrive at the park under the cover of night, the air cool and crisp. Sarah stands by a bench, her face pale and drawn. "Mike," she says as I approach. "I'm sorry. I never wanted any of this to happen." "Spare me the apologies," I snap. "What do you want?" She takes a deep breath, her eyes glistening with tears. "Your father, he's planning something big. He's been making calls, arranging meetings. I think he's onto you." My heart skips a beat. "What do you mean?" "He's been acting paranoid, talking about cleaning house. I overheard him saying he needs to deal with anyone who poses a threat. Mike, he's dangerous. You need to be careful." I glance at Sam and Emily, my mind racing. "We need to move faster," I say. "If he's onto us, we don't have much time." Sarah steps closer, her voice pleading. "Let me help you. I know I don't deserve your trust, but I can't let him get away with this." I hesitate, torn between anger and a grudging sense of gratitude. Finally, I nod. Fine. But if you betray us again, there will be no mercy. We return to the house, our urgency now fueled by a sense of impending danger. Ethan is waiting for us, his expression tense. I just got a tip, he says. Your father is planning to leave the country. He's booked a flight for tomorrow night. Then we need to act now, I say, my voice firm. Ethan, can you get the story out by tomorrow morning? He nods, determination etched on his face. I'll work through the night. By tomorrow, the world will know the truth. As Ethan works on the final touches of the exposé, the rest of us prepare for the fallout. We know my father's reaction will be swift and ruthless, but we're ready. We've come too far to back down now. The next morning, as the first light of dawn breaks, Ethan's story goes live. The headline is bold and damning: prominent businessman exposed, corruption, betrayal, and criminal empire unveiled. The details are meticulous, the evidence irrefutable. The article spreads like wildfire, picked up by major news outlets and social media platforms. The response is immediate. Within hours, authorities are at my father's mansion, serving warrants and seizing assets. The public outcry is deafening, the once respected businessman now a pariah. As the day unfolds, we watch the news coverage, a sense of vindication washing over us. But we know it's not over. My father is a cornered animal, and cornered animals are dangerous. We brace ourselves for his next move, knowing that the fight is far from finished. As night falls, a sense of calm settles over me. We've struck a blow against the man who betrayed me, but the war is still on. And we're ready for whatever comes next. The day after Ethan's exposé breaks is a whirlwind of media frenzy and legal action. My father's reputation crumbles as more details of his illicit activities come to light. News trucks line the street outside his mansion, reporters clamoring for statements. The house, once a symbol of his success, now stands as a fortress of disgrace. But beneath the surface of our victory, I can't shake the feeling that we've missed something. My father's absence is a glaring anomaly. We know he's dangerous, and his silence is unnerving. We gather at my house to strategize our next steps. Emily, Sam, and Ethan join me at the kitchen table, the air thick with tension. Sarah sits quietly, her guilt-ridden eyes watching me, hoping for a redemption I'm not sure she deserves. He's out there, planning something, Sam says, his voice laced with anxiety. We can't underestimate him. We need to find him before he makes his next move, Ethan adds, tapping furiously on his laptop. I'm trying to trace his last known locations, but he's covered his tracks well. Emily leans forward, her expression stern. We need more inside information. Sarah, you said he's paranoid and making calls. Do you know where he might be hiding? Sarah shakes her head, her voice soft but urgent. No, but I know he has a safe house. A place he goes when he needs to lay low. It's in the woods, about an hour outside the city. I nod, feeling a spark of hope. That's our best lead. We need to check it out. We gather our things and head out, leaving Ethan to monitor the situation from his laptop. The drive is tense and silent, the weight of what we might face hanging heavy in the air. The sun sets as we reach the edge of the woods, casting long shadows over the dense trees. The safe house is hidden deep within, a small, unassuming cabin that looks like it hasn't been used in years. We approach cautiously, every sound amplified in the quiet night. My heart pounds in my chest as we reach the door, which is slightly ajar. I push it open slowly, the creak echoing ominously. Inside, the cabin is dark and silent. We step in, our flashlights casting eerie beams over dusty furniture and cobwebs. There's a sense of abandonment, but also of recent activity, a hastily packed bag, a half-eaten meal. He's been here, Emily whispers, her eyes scanning the room. But he's gone now. Wait, Sam says, his flashlight pausing on a hidden door in the floor. What's this? We pry the door open, revealing a small, dimly lit basement. Carefully, we descend the narrow stairs, our footsteps echoing in the confined space. Hoping for a redemption, I find a makeshift office, a desk cluttered with papers, a computer, and several monitors displaying security camera feeds. My father's face appears on one of the screens, his expression cold and calculating. "Hello, Mike." I freeze, my breath catching in my throat. "Dad of hope." "Impressive work," he says, his voice eerily calm. "I underestimated you." "Where are you?" I demand, my anger boiling over. "Show yourself." He chuckles, the sound sending chills down my spine. "I'm closer than you think." But before we get to that, let me tell you a story. He begins to recount his life, painting himself as a victim of circumstance, driven to corruption by necessity. His words are laced with manipulation, attempting to justify his actions and sow doubt in our minds. "You see, Mike," he concludes, "everything I've done was for the family. To protect you, to ensure our legacy." "You're a liar," I spit, my hands shaking with rage. "You betrayed us all." "Perhaps," he says, his eyes narrowing. "But the game isn't over yet. You still have much to learn." Suddenly, the monitors flicker, and a new image appears, Sarah, bound and gagged, her eyes wide with fear. My blood runs cold. "No!" I shout, panic gripping me. "Where is she?" My father's smile is cold and cruel. "She's the price you pay for crossing me. If you want to save her, you'll need to follow my instructions." He provides coordinates to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. We scramble out of the cabin, racing against time. The drive is a blur of desperation and fear, every second feeling like an eternity. We reach the warehouse just as dawn breaks, the sky a pale, foreboding grey. The building looms ominously, its windows dark and foreboding. We approach cautiously, our nerves frayed. Inside, the air is thick with dust and decay. We move silently, our eyes scanning every shadow for signs of my father or Sarah. Suddenly, a noise echoes through the cavernous space, a faint, muffled cry. "Sarah!" I call out, my voice cracking with emotion. We follow the sound to a back room, where Sarah is tied to a chair, her eyes pleading for help. I rush to her side, untying the ropes and pulling the gag from her mouth. "Mike," she gasps, tears streaming down her face. "He's here. He's watching us." I turn, scanning the room for any sign of my father. The shadows seem to close in around us, the tension suffocating. Suddenly, a figure steps out from the darkness, a gun aimed at my chest. "Welcome, Mike," my father says, his eyes cold and unyielding. "This ends now." "Let her go," I demand, my voice trembling with anger. "This is between you and me." He laughs, a harsh, bitter sound. "You still don't get it, do you? This has always been about more than just us. It's about power, control, and legacy." Before I can respond, Sam steps forward, his own gun drawn. "Drop the weapon," he commands, his voice steady. My father hesitates, his eyes flickering between us. For a moment, the room is frozen in a tense standoff. Then, with a sudden, swift movement, he lunges towards Sarah, using her as a shield. "Back off," he snarls, his eyes wild. "Or she dies." I feel a surge of helplessness and fury, my mind racing for a solution. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I see Emily moving silently towards him, her eyes locked on her target. With a swift, calculated motion, she knocks the gun from his hand, sending it skidding across the floor. Sam grabs it, training it on my father as he struggles to regain his balance. "It's over," I say, stepping forward. "You've lost." My father glares at me, his expression a mix of rage and defeat. "This isn't over," he hisses. "It will never be over." But his words ring hollow. The authorities arrive, summoned by Ethan, who has been tracking our movements from a distance. My father is taken into custody, his empire dismantled piece by piece. In the aftermath, as the dust settles, I find myself standing alone in the wreckage of our lives. The sense of victory is bittersweet, tainted by the knowledge of what we've lost. But there's also a sense of closure, of finality. As the sun sets, casting a warm glow over the city, I take a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past lift from my shoulders. We've survived the storm, and now it's time to rebuild, to heal. With Sam, Emily, and Sarah by my side, I know we can face whatever comes next. Together, we've proven that even in the darkest of times, there's hope, strength, and the possibility of redemption. And as we walk away from the ruins of my father's empire, I know that we've won the most important battle of all, the battle for our future.